You've been sold a lie that to grow a personal brand and business, you need to post content on social media. Because right now, the exact opposite is happening, where experts with years of experience who've always struggled to gain traction online are becoming industry leaders with zero following online.
They're taking advantage of this new style of podcasting that's making it easier for regular experts to blow up without social media.
So in this video, you'll discover how they're doing it, the biggest mistake we've found after coaching 400 plus business owners that causes them to fail with this new style, and the 3-step process you can use that Todd used to blow up his show and turn listeners into clients without a massive following online.
But first, you need to understand the fundamental shift that's happening right now that's causing thousands of experts to ditch social media entirely.
There's a trap that almost every expert falls into when they try to build a personal brand that keeps them stuck for years. They look at the big authorities in their spaces,
The people with massive followings online who are posting every day and everywhere under the sun.
and what starts to happen is they end up believing that that's the only way to build authority online, so they start copying their social media strategy. But this ends up causing 2 major issues.
First, they hate the game they found themselves in.
Why?
Well, because it involves creating polarizing, triggering, attention-grabbing content that goes against pretty much everything they stand for, because that's what actually goes viral online, which doesn't feel like them, so they never fully lean in.
The problem is they're forcing themselves to compete in a game that wasn't built for their strengths. Your strengths are strategic thinking, depth, nuance, and you've entered a competition that rewards flashy moves, entertainment, and whoever is able to grab the most amount of attention in the first 3 seconds is like a world-class chess player who's walking into a breakdancing competition, loses, and keeps wondering why they're not winning. You're not winning because nothing about this arena rewards what you're actually good at.
And even if you practiced breakdancing for years, got good at it, learned to do the worm, you'd still get destroyed by someone who comes along and is naturally built for it and actually really likes doing it.
This is why so many experts get beaten up when they try playing the game of social media.
And it's also why the smart ones stop playing the social media game entirely and find another platform that actually rewards their strengths.
And for most experts, that's audio podcast. The moment they make that switch, everything changes. Because they're now playing a game that matches their strengths, speaking about their expertise, communicating in a way that feels natural, that actually gets rewarded.
The podcast equivalent of viral content is having depth, nuance, context where real experts can shine. We recently had an interview with David, one of our clients, who is a genuine thought leader. He had a best-selling book, decades of experience, and a multi-6-figure-a-year business training leaders at real companies, but still felt invisible online.
Like he was screaming into an empty void. And he even admitted openly to us that he knew what he needed to do to go viral on social media, but he couldn't fully lean into it. He couldn't get himself to take action because it felt inauthentic to him.
He started working with us to build this new style of podcast. All of a sudden, in just a matter of months, he blew up.
And he's now one of the top recognized podcasts in the leadership space.
But he's the exact same expert.
The only difference is he's now playing a game that rewards his strengths.
So now you understand why smart experts are ditching social media for podcasts. But before you start one, you need to avoid the single biggest mistake that ruins most experts' chances of blowing up before they even publish their first episode. Anthony, would you do the honors?
Most experts who start podcasts copy the most common format they see, which is a 60-minute guest interview where you interview guests on your show, which ruins their business because what they don't understand is that style of podcast isn't optimized for growth or sales. Here's what I mean. Imagine for a second you ask someone out to travel to a neighboring country for a weekend away for your first date.
Come with me to Paris, Anthony. I know we've only just met, but it feels so right.
That's a pretty bold ask, and not in a good way. You're asking a total stranger to make a massive commitment in their first interaction with you. And for most strangers, that's a risk they aren't willing to take. And that's exactly what happens with the traditional 60-minute podcast. And that's why so many experts struggle to grow.
But Anthony, I listen to Stephen Bartlett for an hour every week.
Firstly, Stephen Bartlett, really? Terrible taste.
Actually, I agree.
Secondly, it's because he's famous. People already kind of like, know, and trust him. You're far more likely to click on Stephen Bartlett just because you know and are familiar with his name. And let's be honest, if Stephen Bartlett asked me to go to Paris, I'll be intrigued.
Oh, but when I ask you to go to Paris, it's a massive commitment.
The point is, getting new prospects to listen to a 60-minute interview when they don't like, know, and trust you yet, doesn't get you very far.
In fact, the interview format pretty much stops you altogether from being able to grow your podcast and personal brand.
Now, here is a second issue that has more to do with sales. Imagine you do land that first date. They've decided to bring a friend, and throughout the entire day, well, that friend, they're talking, they're funny, they're charismatic, they're sharing all of these amazing stories, and they're pretty engaging. Meanwhile, the person who asked you out on the date was kind of just in the background, not saying much. Now, at the end of that date, who would you walk away feeling like you know, like, and trust? The friend, right?
So you're saying that if you took Stephen Bartlett to Paris, you would bring me along?
Not quite. What I'm saying is that's exactly what happens every single time an expert interviews another guest on their show. They put the spotlight on their guests, meaning by the end of every episode, your listeners and prospects walk away impressed with the guest and not you.
Now, if your goal is to build an audience who want to work with you, they need to see you as the expert, not your guests. This is how you can accidentally spend years with the wrong format and not make any money, because you spend years building everyone else's authority instead of yours.
So what you need is a new style of podcasting that's short enough that new listeners can easily commit to, long enough that they can see you as an expert, and done in a way where they're able to build the like, know, and trust with you. And the point where all three of these points cross paths is what we call a 15 minutes solo podcast.
Short enough that a stranger will actually press play.
Long enough that you can demonstrate your expertise.
Solo, so the listener builds trust with you, not the guest.
And this is the exact format that regular experts are using to blow up. So look, now you understand why social media doesn't work for experts in 2026, why solo 15-minute podcasts are the new format allowing experts to blow up online.
But there's one more piece that separates the experts who blow up from the ones who stay invisible forever, even with a 15-minute solo podcast. And it's about how you actually get found.
Now, this was a massive mistake that me and Tig messed up years ago when we were trying to help our first few clients blow up their shows. We were convinced that the way you grow podcasts was through promo clips on social media. And we did that for months on end. But what was really confusing was we were working super hard to get these clips out, but they just weren't getting our clients the results we wanted.
It's quite embarrassing, actually. Podcast growth guys who couldn't grow podcasts.
Thank God that rite of passage has long gone. Anyways, it wasn't until we saw this Facebook post by a guy called Jake Ward, who grew his podcast to 300,000 monthly downloads in just 9 months. And we finally discovered how podcasts actually grow.
We thought people found podcasts when they open up social media, see a short promo clip, and then go and listen to the full episode. But how many podcast clips have you seen in the last month where you actually clicked it, left social media, and went and listened to the full episode?
Can you think of even 2?
It turns out no one is opening up social media to find new podcasts. They're opening up Apple Podcasts and Spotify and searching for new shows based on their current problems and topics of interest.
And that's how people actually find podcasts to listen to. Now, it sounds so obvious when you break it down like this.
And this is what allowed our clients to blow up. All we had to do was add specific words to our clients' episodes when they uploaded them, and it meant that when people searched those words, they would be found.
I remember this one client, Raven, who was an expert in her field, helping people heal after going through narcissistic relationships. She was working hard as a mum for years on a podcast and was on the verge of quitting her show because she was barely growing. She was stuck at 400 listens per month after years of podcasting. Now, after we got her ranked on page 1 of Apple and Spotify, she blew up her show, growing past 23,000 monthly listens in just 11 months. And she was able to launch a new book off the back of the audience she had built.
And this is how experts are blowing up without social media. They're using this new style of podcast.
A 15-minute solo podcast
that gets ranked on Apple and Spotify, where they're then being found by their dream listeners and turning them into high-ticket clients.
Now, that sounds great. You now understand how regular experts are blowing up without social media. But if you don't have a simple step-by-step process that shows you how you can launch your very own 15-minute solo podcast, you'll basically stay stuck playing the social media game we both know you hate. Well, that's exactly why we created a full, complete guide on how to launch your very own 15-minute solo podcast that ranks on page 1 of Apple and Spotify and blows up your authority. So you can click here and watch the video right now.